My friends, our gospel reading for today contains one of the most tragic figures in the entire New Testament. He is known as Bartimaeus, the blind beggar. Now, we would assume that Bartimaeus was his name, but it really is not a proper name at all. It's a word that simply means son of Timaeus. Apparently, the man had so little regard that no one either bothered to learn his name or he had no name. He was just known as the blind son of Timaeus, who spent his meager life begging on the streets of Jericho. Now, he appears in the gospel because Jesus and the crowd who gathered around him happened to pass near the place where he was seated. When Bartimaeus heard the crowd, he inquired what was happening. On hearing that it was Jesus, whom he somehow had heard about, he began to cry out to him for help. Now, another indication of how the blind beggar was disregarded by his own people is the statement, many people were scolding him to keep him quiet. They feared that he might embarrass them if he asked Jesus for a donation or a favor. In any case, they did not want their distinguished visitor and festive occasion disturbed by someone so insignificant as a blind beggar. But Bartimaeus persisted, and his cries were heard by Jesus. Now, Jesus could have ignored those pleas and those cries for help. Few would have noticed, and even less would have cared. But that is not how Jesus felt about people, especially the disadvantaged and the oppressed. Let's face it, people with real problems can be quite a bother sometimes. They cost money. They take time to work with them emotionally, and that is very draining. They may be uncooperative and even ungrateful for the help. Most of us feel like citizens of Jericho who wish the outcast would just be quiet and leave. Well, Jesus didn't share that sentiment. He invested most of his ministry in people whom the establishment considered unworthy of their time and attention. Have you ever wondered why Jesus cared so deeply for the outcast? Well, in the gospel, there are hints of two reasons. One is that he knew from personal experience how it felt to be an outcast. Remember, he was born in a stable. When he got back to his hometown for a visit, the congregation in the synagogue that day turned into an angry mob who wanted to kill him. To his own he came, but his own did not accept him. Jesus knew what it was like to be an outcast. At one point or another, we have all been left out, overlooked, or put down. Jesus had that experience. That's why he had a special care for the outcast. And the other reason is that he knew there were no outcasts with God. You know, Jesus was the Son of God and the brother of every woman and man on earth. This faith is summarized in the last judgment scene recorded in St. Matthew's Gospel in the New Testament. I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink, and so on. Then Jesus concluded with these words, as often as you did it for one of these least of mine, you did it for me. That is how Jesus felt about people. There were no outcasts with him because there were no outcasts with God. They were all sisters and brothers because they were all daughters and sons of God. If you and I call ourselves his followers, we must share that same conviction. Especially, we must care for those who live at the bottom rung of the social ladder. Their cries for help must reach our ears and touch our hearts. Otherwise, we have no right to bear the name of him who met the blind beggar on the road of Jericho.